Welcome, fellow anglers, to the Working Class Fishing Podcast, a place for all anglers, amateur or expert, to share their stories and learn about fishing. Join your hosts, John and Brian, each episode as they debunk the perceived inaccessibility to fishing, break down the barriers of any and all angling methods, and hear stories from other anglers and their own journeys with fishing. Now, let's get this show started.
Welcome back to another episode of the Working Class Fishing Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brian, and here is the esteemed Mr. John Morris with our sponsors.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Working Class Fishing. This episode is brought to you by CD Fishing USA, Naughty Tackle Shear Cure, Anadromous Fly Company, 317 Flies, Angry Rooster Fly Company, and Lid Rig.
Sweet. Thanks for dropping those, John. Make sure to go check out all of those different sponsors out there and let them know that we sent you. So tonight we got somebody from my neck of the woods. Again, it's either from John's neck of the woods or my neck of the woods. We got the one and only Nick Saba, the man, the myth, the legend, the mind behind High Class Tackle Company. They make premium spinners for trolling for Chinook salmon, coho salmon, basically anything with an S and the salmon in it that you can tow behind a boat. Nick does a lot of really cool patterns and designs. He's been working with quite a few people. He's going to fill us in on that. So Nick, thank you so much for being on the show. We're happy to have you here.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to hopping on this with you guys and chatting.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I mean, the first time I saw your stuff, it was on Instagram. Everything happens on Instagram for us.
Yep.
And I was like, High Class Tackle, what's this? And then I see like some good classic, like 3.5 spinner blades. And for those of you that don't know what a 3.5 spinner is, it's basically a Colorado blade for those of you that throw a lot of different styles of spinner baits and things like that. So Nick's showing some off right now. So it kind of pops in between and everything else. So which one's that, Nick?
This is the Thicky Vicky.
Oh, yeah.
She catches thick ones.
That's right up my alley.
No,
Dude.
yeah, we really wanted to kind of jump off with the 3.5s. There's a ton of products that I want to do, and it just takes a lot of money to kind of get original ideas like to completion. So it was kind of like, hey, we want to do this. I want to do something in the fishing industry. I want to do all of these new products, but what's going to be the jumping off point? And I was like, I guarantee we can sell a shitload of 3.5 spinners. I mean, and so it was like, it kind of became our flagship product, if you would say, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you do a lot of the airbrushing yourself on those products, don't you?
I do original design work, and then we do work with the larger manufacturer within the United States to get these all done in bulk. There was a while there I was doing everything myself, and I work a full-time job as well. And it was very quickly apparent that my wife and kids were not super stoked with dad in the paint booth until 2-3 in the morning, waking up and going to do my other job. So,
Yeah,
just some things you realize, hey, the bulk of this work is going to have to be outsourced at some point. We might as well move that direction and try and find some really good manufacturers to work with right now. And that's what we've done.
No, you've came up with some really cool designs. I mean, from the classics to just very innovative color patterns and everything else. In the salmon fishing world, I guess we're always looking for the same thing, but to be reinvented a little bit different, because we're confident in the lures that we use. The lures you're using are what we would consider to be for like the later season when, because you can explain how salmon migrate. I'll let you, because you're making the tackle, but you can explain a little bit about like how the salmon move into the river, and when it's early and it's cold, they're buried in the bottom, and then when it starts warming up and they come up. Your products are really for when those salmon start pushing and they're getting real aggressive on that specific bite kind of window.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, I mean, it's become kind of more apparent year after year that these guys that swear by fishing triangles early and herring early say the 360s won't work right now. I mean, like year after year, I go out and I try and pull 360s around and I try and fish bait. And granted, I'm getting a little bit better at it as the years go on. But it seems like even in those early months when the water is really cold, I'll put 360s on all 5 of my rods and the Willamette with just coon shrimp, as my bait. And I do just as well as any of those guys fishing triangles. And these last couple of years, I don't know if I ever let a triangle hit the water. So.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys. Full admission, like right
it
now.
It works, man. Some guys are just better at doing it than others. And I did not grow up spinning herring. And so it's like that was a huge learning curve. It was also like a huge reason I did all the spinner blades. I got into it and it was like, this is awesome. This is right in my backyard. I'd only gone with like my wife's grandfather down in like the Umpqua kind of Reedsport area, fished the Coos a couple times with him. But I mean, bait just was not my jam. I wasn't great at it, but it seemed to be I could spin a spinner just as well as anybody else could. And you can't fix what ain't broke. And pretty much like when you start putting bait down or spinners down that you like, and one of them starts catching fish, all of a sudden you're hooked. You're like, oh, it's got to be this one every time. So, and that's what it was those first couple of years. So.
Yeah, when you get that go-to lure, that's what you're going to.
It only has to catch one fish to be a go-to lure.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm sticking with that color. I'm gonna run that. It doesn't matter what species it is. It's like I'm sticking to that. I'm running that. That's what we're doing. That's what we're gonna run first. And then you start getting into the different things. It's like, well, maybe I need to be running copper today, or maybe I need to be running nickel, or maybe I need to run like tarnished brass or tarnished copper, and so it starts going into all this stuff, and you can read all the resources from all the guys that that fish spinners like super hard, or even like
the Bill Herzogs of the world that'll tell you about the
old
colors
Bill.
And the clouds and all that. Yeah, I mean, I am it could be anything on any given day is what I've learned.
Yeah, it's so bizarre, because there again, you're talking about pulling coon shrimp, and I take it you're using a prawn spinner for that, right?
Yeah, I do like a soft spinner. Let me see if I got one laying around. I know I do.
Yeah, with those prawn spinners and those types of baits and stuff like that, they're just so deadly, especially when they're pulled behind a 360. It's like you just get hammered on them.
And everybody rigs them up a little bit different. This is how I like to rig them. I rig them with 2 of these, be with 1 6mm in the middle, and then this is a size number 4 red gamakatsu, and then there's a little size number 4 jaw lock KVD treble down that sits only about a finger length behind it. So when I run this and I hook my coon shrimp through this top red hook, this trailer treble is like right in those black whiskers. It's right at the back of the shrimp. So when they come up and if they're short on it, they always get that back treble. But that's kind of how I run in the spring. So I don't run the wire bodies in the springtime.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always ran wire bodies. And this last year I went over to doing like that, the mono spinners. And I noticed that along with the 360 and the action and everything else, I mean, that's a really solid setup.
Yeah, you can run them all year like that. I do feel like they get beat up more over time, and it comes around August, and I like to just I'm done running bait when the water heats up for the most part. I might run bait the beginning part out in Astoria, but the water heats up, I'm running straight wire bodies with double trebles on them. Here, I think I got an example of how I do those too, somewhere around here.
All the good stuff.
Good stuff.
Meanwhile, John's tying a bluegill.
Dude, it's kinda. I have been on that bluegill kick for sure.
Is that one gonna get a dragon tail?
This one does not get a dragon tail. This one just is getting some Sharpie barring right now.
Maybe more perch.
I think it's more perch. It's kind of like fire tiger, to be honest. And I say that
It's beautiful.
I appreciate that. The fly ain't too bad either, but yeah, no, it's just little bait fish. But yeah, that's done.
Oh yeah, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Pretty good time on that one.
John's-
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say I've had a couple of those.
Oh, Brian, I was just going to show you. This is how I run those double treble hooks.
Who?
So this is
What
actually, I'll kind of take it apart a little bit for you. But I started doing this last year, and I don't think I'm ever going to go away from it. Just because I never had to change anything out. Of course, this tubing is on here.
And that's for coon trout?
No, this was just regular. So when I ran him in the fall, this is actually an 80-pound mono on here. And then there's a crimp. So I'll crimp that on and then fold that over. So that runs perfectly behind that other treble hook. And then the tubing goes on right over here. You can't even see that there was ever a crimp when the tubing goes over the top of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have fish get caught up in the net all over the place. I never, ever lost that back hook. Whenever I was running, like even with 30-pound mono or 30-pound fluorocarbon and dangling that trailer hook back there with just one string, like egg loop knot or something like that, I would lose that hook. And this is just kind of the way where I figured out, like, hey, I can run this from August all the way through October. Same spinner, same piece of wire. As long as I don't get it too gooed up with scent or anything like that, you know, like it just never fails. So, and I think that's actually a product we're going to start putting out on market at some point. The double treble spinners. Because that's, I mean, everybody wants to tie their own these days. Everybody's running some kind of double hook setup. I feel like the wire body single spinner is kind of going out of style a little bit. And that's what we're here for, to bring some new products to market. So
I'm still, as long as I've been on this podcast talking to like dudes from the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
When you guys say spinners, and I know it's not just a P&W thing, right? But
yeah,
when you guys say spinners, I think inline spinners, but these aren't really inline spinners, are they?
When you say inline spinner, what do you mean? Can you give me an example of that? Because I feel like these are fairly like an inline spinner, you know what I mean?
Like a Panther Martin.
Like a Panther Martin. I mean, these are technically the same exact thing. It's just assembled a little bit differently.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, most of your spinner setups are just going to consist of a wire body, a couple beads on there, a clevis, and then a hook down at the bottom. I mean, the only difference between this and a Panther Martin or a Blue Fox or something like that would be a weighted centerpiece on this. So this isn't made to be castable is the only difference between it. It's so light that it's made to be pulled behind some kind of other attractant, hence the flashers.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. But no, essentially it is an inline spinner. It is an inline spinner, very much so.
Excellent. Well, thanks for clearing that up, Nick.
Yeah, no, I have all sorts of buddies from Central Oregon, and like I actually grew up in Minnesota, so I got some family and some people back there. They're like, hey, let me get some of your tackle. I really want to use it. And I'm like, guys, like I wish I would love to send you some of this, but I guarantee you're not going to do well casting off the bank with my my 3.5 Colorados with no weights on them. You're going to be fairly disappointed.
You know, we were talking before this, and the blades are, you can put them on anything, really.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I mean, the patterns, the colors, everything else, we know these to be what works for our Chinook, whether that's spring, whether that's the big fall upriver brights or coho. We know that those colors, that's like what we go to. Like you have the pink dot. That's my favorite blade of all time. I love the white, the pearl back with the pink dot and the black circle. That's hands down my favorite. It's been a classic for a long time. But a lot of people, in a lot of respects, you could swap out blades on, a spinnerbait body, like for bass, and throw one of these, and it's going to pretty much do the same thing, but it puts a little bit different color, looks a little different. It's essentially the same thing.
Yeah, I'm actually scheduled to go back to Minnesota to go to a resort that I used to spend a lot of time at as a child in the Boundary Waters this August or late July.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm pretty excited to come bring a bunch of this Pacific Northwest salmon gear out there. And just as a child going and fishing those Boundary Waters lakes where you had to hike in or portage in and there wasn't any like real public access to them. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to throw a hook out there with a red hook with nothing on it. And we would, like lay waste to them. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited.
So since you're from that area, and there again, we got this affinity for predator fish. When you were fishing up there, were you going after like pike and muskie and stuff like that? Or
I mean, in true Minnesota fashion, like as a child, I grew up with like walleye up here on this like pinnacle of like fish. You know what I mean? We all caught our fair share of pike, and I mean, like I spent probably more of my childhood just slapping crappies and sunfish and stuff like that than I remember of anything. But walleye was always up here. Like this is the pinnacle of fishing, And I love walleye fishing to this day. I go out on the Columbia, further up the Columbia, and go hammer some walleye, and I have a ton of fun doing it. But I'll tell you what, and nothing against those walleye guys at all. Like, love you guys. I know I have a bunch of walleye guy friends. There's nothing that can compare to a 25, 30-pound Chinook on the end of your rod, pulling out 100 feet of line in, 10 seconds. Like, there's nothing that compares to that. And that's why I fell in love with the Chinook and the coho up here in the Pacific Northwest.
I've always wondered about that comparison. Like in the Midwest, walleye, sauger, sagai, all those fish, that's like, I guess what their equivalency outside of like the Great Lakes and, fisheries for the salmon, that's like what their equivalency of our salmon here is like,
or muskie probably up there. Like
muskie. I put muskie in our steelhead, like right here.
Yeah.
Just because the people that usually fish for muskie are pretty, and this from being in the Midwest, they hold that fish on a pretty high pinnacle because it's not easy to catch. Yeah. Just like one of our steelhead, they're not easy to catch. It could be right in front of you and you don't even know it. Same thing with the
catching walleye to catch walleye are catching them to eat them, and the people who are catching muskies are catching them to take a trophy picture and let that sucker go. That's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, and there again, we have our hatchery fish that we get to take, and and that's you partake in that fishery as much as I do, and we love our salmon. We absolutely love our salmon. We love our hatcheries. They do so much for us, and they provide us so much fun and great food and all that. But yeah, the walleye is like, where else can you go and get a Friday night fish fry where you have walleye and perch? That's your selections. I mean. That's what makes the Midwest cool. That's what I love about going there is like, you got the Friday night fish fry, get out the, well, I go to Wisconsin, so I go next door to where you're from. So, we bust out the Leinenkugels and the bags and, go for it, it's good times. The bigs, you got to get the accent right. I'll be putting some stuff up this summer from there. But,
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh man, sure.
So I guess I'll steal this question from John. John's in Zen mode right now.
No,
I can see.
I was waiting for the time to say it, and I didn't think it was time yet.
I think it's time, John.
All right, racist. Nick.
Yeah.
I ask everybody this. How did you get into fishing? What was that first experience that kind of got you there? You know what I mean?
Man, well, I grew up around fishing. Being from the Midwest, you know, it was a big, like, always out doing the sunfish and bluegill and stuff like that on a regular basis with my dad. And it was just like, for whatever reason, the moments that we spent fishing as a child with my family, they just resonate. They stand out in my childhood. I seem to remember them better. They were so impactful on me, I felt like. And there were definitely other, like, shining moments. Like, me and my little brother were, I don't know, God, we must have both been younger than fourth grade, because I hadn't moved to Oregon yet, which means we're little kids. My little brother is 3 years younger than me, which means I'm probably in third or fourth grade and he's in first grade or kindergarten. And we are rowing a canoe together down the St. Croix River. And we might have been in Wisconsin or Minnesota at the time. And we have, like, my mom is next to us on kayaks, our grandma is next to us, my uncle's with us. And we're just, like, pulling some rapalas between our legs, because that's just what we did, you know? My little brother was like, man, I think I'm stuck. Like, all of a sudden the canoe starts, like, kind of going sideways, because his rod is just, like, seems like it got hung up on a log. And all of a sudden, so he starts reeling. He's like, I don't know, I think I can reel it in. And I remember this. He's a little kid. He's little tiny kid. And he gets this log up to the side of the boat, and it was a muskie about the half the size of the boat. The fish was bigger than he was as a child. And I remember my uncle having a damn near panic attack and just being like, we need to get to the bank now. You know what I mean? Because we, like, this was also a time before we had really good cell phone cameras or anything like that too. So all we have is these tiny, like, brick camera cell phones. And I remember we got it to the shore. We pulled this giant, me and my little brother, we've only heard the folklore of muskies. You know what I mean? We've never even laid our eyes on one in our entire lives. And all of a sudden my little brother's got this gigantic fish, and they're trying to get him to hold it, and he cannot lift it. So he's laying backwards up the shore with this fish that's longer than his legs, and he's laying down. And my uncle to this day has this picture, and it's about this big in real life. Actually, it's about the size of one of these spinner packs, because that was the quality of the pixelation of the little tiny cell phone camera picture that we have. But yeah, man, just things like that were just like, oh my God, like, these things happen. And I just remember them being, like, some of the most cool or fun things that stood out to me in my childhood. And then for a long time it was gone. Like, I moved to Oregon, lived in Central Oregon, where, you know, my dad had grown up in the pan fishing world. And as we know, Central Oregon is kind of like trout land almost. Yeah. And we were just, like, lost again. And we were also kind of like, man, these fish taste like shit and they don't fight very hard. You know, it wasn't the same kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I finally went salmon fishing and stuff again out here that I was like, oh man, like, I forgot how much I absolutely loved this. So,
man, yeah, that's insane, dude. You guys are just paddling around with wraps and you hook a muskie. I mean,
on a canoe, like, me and my little brother. The more I think back on it, I'm like, I don't even like to be in a canoe now. Like, me and my little brother is being responsible enough to not flip a canoe with a muskie on it. Like, yeah.
Oh wow. That would definitely get me into fishing if you hooked a good old stock standard muskie that big. I mean,
there's just things you're not gonna ever forget, man. You never ever forget that moment. I won't forget that series of events for the rest of my life. And that, you know, I can't say that about, like, even going to Disney World in kindergarten. I don't remember shit about going to Disney World. You know what I mean?
Oh man. Yeah. Well, I don't think it's like, I don't think it shares the same special value. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're out there and you're in nature and you're not really expecting, like, you'd expect a smallie to come up and smash a wrap, or, you know, even a good sized crappie, or, even for that matter, pike.
Absolutely.
but to catch a trophy muskie, just like screwing around as a kid, that would get me into fishing for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if I could think anything else of it.
No, it definitely just like sparked that little bit of like, hey, you love this. You remember how that feels, you don't ever forget how that feels. I mean, and it's the same thing. There's actually a video on my Instagram of the biggest fish that I ever put on my boat to this day. And it was the second day I had taken my boat fishing out in Buoy 10 about 3 years ago. And my reaction is probably about the same. You can go back on my Instagram video and I'm like panicking, like, oh my God, you guys don't understand. Like, it was 28 pounds. Like that, it was a really big fish, but guides will be like, that's nothing to me. Still, I've never put one that big on my boat. It was a big deal to me.
Go ahead, John.
I was gonna say, it doesn't matter what the fish. Like, I live in Texas, dude. Right, so it doesn't matter what fish it is. 28 pounds is a giant fish.
I put it in the net and I knew it was the biggest fish that I'd ever seen. Maybe other than that muskie, which I probably was way bigger than that muskie coming back. Think about it. It was big and it was fun. And my mom was on the boat. My stepdad was on the boat. Both my little brothers were on the boat and we were listening to Bruce Springsteen, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, baby. And shit
Dude.
got Western.
Oh yeah. I was gonna just kind of reiterate, a 28-pound Chinook by today's standards is a big fish.
It was still to this day the biggest one I've ever got to put on my boat, and I'm always like, come on, how could that be the first? That was the first Chinook we ever bonked on my boat. Was the biggest Chinook we ever bonked on my boat.
what was that? An upriver bright fall fish?
Yeah. It was a fall fish in August in Astoria. Yeah.
It wasn't too uncommon 15, 20 years ago to see fish that big, 3 and 4 salt fish. It was pretty common, especially in the fall fisheries, and they're still out there, but
yeah,
it's kind of died off. Like we had the June hogs, right? And that strain of fish is in Patagonia now, in Chile, and we could bring them back. Those are the fish that came out of the Columbia, but there's a bunch of stuff, and it's kind of sad because it would be fun to have those fish back because they're so big. It's like the precursor to the Thule's coming in, which Thule's get monstrous, but as you know, Thule's aren't like the target. Yeah, they're not table fare. They're fun to catch, but nobody really likes to even have them in their boat because they just, they hormone out. They hit fresh water. They're like a chum. I mean, they just turn and it's like, I mean, out in the ocean, you probably get a good Thule, but the fresh water.
What is a Thule?
A Thule is a specific like breed of salmon. And don't quote me on this, but there's a reason we breed the Thules in the Columbia, and I believe it's some sort of agreement with Canada. So they don't bonk our springers. They don't commercial fish out our springers. And in return, we release a bunch of Thules for them to fish. And when they're in the ocean, I mean, they're nice fish. You probably couldn't tell the difference between them and an upriver bright when they're out there and they're all silver and stuff. It's great. It's just when they get back into the river, they expire a lot quicker. So by the time they're back in the Columbia, I mean, not great table fare like we were saying. So, but they still bonk the hell out of them.
Oh yeah. Well, this last year they hit 230% of the catch quota, and like what I always knew.
That was because we were catching so many Thules, though. They don't adjust their numbers by how many are actually in the system either. I mean, like last fall for the first 3-4 weeks, I mean, it was almost like 1-to-1. You catch a nice one and then you catch a Thule. It was a lot of catch and release out there.
Yeah. And the way that I always understood Thules to be were that, they were like the lower basin spawners. Basically, you can get them up into like the white salmon is named.
Yeah. You'll get them up there, but they mostly spawn below Bonneville.
Yeah. You get them in the Sandy. You get them. There's a very minimal run that goes up the Willamette and cuts off on the Clack, and then I think there's some that go up over the falls. But all of those lower creek trips into, like the Clatskanie River and the Lewis and Cowlitz, all that's where all those tules go, and they go up and spawn. And I know that they have retention on those when they get into the river, because a lot of people go out, they catch them for the eggs. That's what they're basically doing, because the eggs, the skeins are so massive.
Eggs and crab bait.
Yeah, basically that's it. You can't really even smoke them into anything because the meat quality, but you get a good URB, a Snake River fish. Oh man, that's a good fish.
There was a lot of fish last year too, though, that I mean, there is some fish that I was like, man, this is a nice fish. This is super bright fish. It didn't look like a tule to me at all. I got it back in and it cut white, So it is like, and that last year was the first year that ever really happened to me, was where I found some looked like really bright, nice fish that I ended up bringing back, being like, oh, I guess not,
It's kind of surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah.
Smoker. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Nick, what got you into making your own tackle?
Oh man. That first year when I got my boat and I was really starting to try and dial in spinner fishing in the Columbia, in the Willamette, I was getting so frustrated with retailers and finding something that I really liked and really worked, and then trying to go back for it, not being able to find it, not being able to find it online. And I kind of started to realize, like, hey, there's a bunch of garage band spinner blade guys painting spinner blades up here, and they might it might not be like they don't have the same business acumen to get the stuff onto the shelves at Sportsman and Fisher Marine and Cabela's and stuff like that, but they make better products than the companies that do have their products on the shelves at the big retailers. And that was when I was kind of like, hey, me and my partner we've started, I don't know, 5-6 different companies together. We owned dispensaries. We owned a recording studio. We owned a concentrate company up in Washington. We've traveled around the United States, entering high times competitions with our hash and doing all sorts of crazy shit and building up businesses and sinking them and all that before we were 25. And it was kind of like, hey, we had both been with businesses that were super successful now. And I was like, hey, let's put our minds together and start something in this tackle industry where it seems like there's a giant window of opportunity for new blood. Just like a younger take on a lot of the same things, spicing things up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was down with it. So I'm extremely blessed and lucky to have my partner help me out with building this thing. But I mean, we really wanted to do it because I felt like we could do it better than a lot of the people that were doing it. We could bring something new. And I already had like a handful of just like, hey, these are ideas, and that I have. I've talked to other people about them. I really want to get them off the ground. And that was when we were kind of like, okay, well, what can we start with? What can we sell in year one and get a brand to pop and get people to recognize? Because once you build a brand, they will come. You know what I mean? The people will come. And it was like this last year was like, all right, we're doing 3.5s and we're hitting the streets hard. You know what I mean? And we're not going to put a bunch of money into crazy marketing and advertisement and stuff like that. But I'm going to be out there fishing in the bright blue boat every weekend, bonking Chinook, and that's what we did. It took off pretty quick. And we had a bunch of really, really awesome guides that work with us at the same time and helped us get our name out there and fished our products and, helped us build our social media. So we're just super blessed, man. But I love this and I want to end my days doing this. I love my other job too. It's great. But, when I'm 50, I'd love to just be hanging out, doing the same thing you're doing, man, sitting here, tying up some lures and spending my time on the water. So.
Dude, I applaud that. And I think that's sick. Like it takes guts to start anything like that, but it also takes more than just guts, because you've got to actually, you got to think. There's so many people that are like, oh, I'm just going to start this up, and then, but you had failed before, and
Oh, we failed so many times.
and, and, but that's so important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying like you failed before to be like, oh, you're shit at what you do. It's not like that. It's just like that is such a crucial part of learning, is failing. And dude, I think that's awesome. It's like super punk rock, and like you're out there and you're trying to make it doing what you want to do, man. I think that's sick.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, we're pretty lucky in our day jobs too. We both still work in the cannabis industry. We're both fortunate enough. We actually compete with each other in our regular day jobs. He works for a giant cannabis brand, and I work with another cannabis brand that's in direct competition with him. So it's kind of funny on a day-to-day basis, but we got a lot to talk about.
Oh, that's cool though. That the one thing that's really impressed me about, like, right out of the gate was the fact that you had built your business up, and it's just like been perpetually growing more and more, but you've made some really good partnerships in the industry too.
Yeah.
You got some big names in the industry that are like, hey man, we want to hook up with Nick and High Class. And you got some products that you're co-collaborating with on that.
Yeah, we're super lucky to kind of come in and be able to work with these bigger named guides that kind of do some hand holding as far as introductions and stuff like that, which is super nice. But yeah, we just did some products with like we did the Iceberg Shrimp Sun Shrimp 3 Ways with Procure. These guys were awesome to work with. They did our own scent for us. It's a prawn, sand shrimp, coon shrimp blend. It's going to be killer on the springers, everybody. Hop on the website, pick these up. These are awesome. We did those. We did, and I mean, like, this was all kind of like the goal for this year was to get everything from A to B to fish a triangle or a 360 on our website. So we'll have flasher bumpers. We did flasher bumpers, finesse ones with Cold Water Strong. Obviously, like they're the leader people out here. Yep. He's got some technology to do perfect crimps on all these, but yep. I like to run these really light. So we did this is 120 pound mono on 24 inch. We've got the stainless steel swivels up here, and then down on the other end, these are the ball bearing swivels. I don't like the bead chains. These ones spin so much faster, they last so much longer. So, but pretty much on our website, it's going to be what I fish, what I'm most confident in. So it's going to be bumpers the way I like them, flashers the way I like them, 3-way pieces the way I like them. Yeah, we'll have a little bit of everything from A to Z, including the short buses.
Yeah, I saw those.
Awesome. Gave us a bunch of blanks of these. My buddy James out in Yakima cuts all these tapes for us and does these. He does a great job, man. So we're gonna keep rolling with these awesome partnerships. People who already know the game from front to back can kind of be shepherds to us as well. But yeah, we just want to partner with cool people and like-minded individuals. Support these local businesses that are obviously crushing. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so you're doing you're working with JT on some of that stuff. So you're doing the 360s and triangles. Did I hear you right on that?
I've got some triangles. They'll probably be further down the road. I also just saw he released some cool ass. Did you see it? I saw on Facebook today he released like a chrome pink and a chrome chartreuse triangle and 11-inch. So I'm sure I'm going to try and get my hands on some of those. But I just buy blanks from him. He's been super awesome.
Yeah, that chrome and chartreuse really sounds good. I'm a chartreuse guy, but pink works good too. Oh. But I'm like, oh, which one do you drop? And then it's like, oh wait, I got a 2 rod validation. I'll put both down.
Yep.
Let
Yeah,
the strongest survive. That's for sure.
You can kind of see these on my phone. Oh fuck.
Here we go.
Like that's a video.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm getting those.
Those look sweet. So
Yep, I'm getting those. JT, I'll have this order in after this, and you won't hear this for a little bit, but I'm getting some.
That's what I'm saying. I already hit him up about it. So hopefully soon.
Hopefully
Yeah,
it doesn't run out.
No, yeah. I primarily fish just chrome, man. I'm an all chrome guy. I really loved when he released these chrome dipped ones last year. I'm not like opposed to short bus pro troll. I'm not one to get in arguments about the products and stuff like that. But yeah, I really liked the way these ones held up over the year. They're just a little flashier, I felt like. I don't know. They're great. And they also it's really easy to apply tape to them. So they're all chrome one. You can do custom stuff on them really easily.
Yeah, you can get like I don't know what that it's like the same thing that they put on the Mylar wings on the spin and glow. Kind of that reflective tape.
The vinyl taping, yeah.
And that's cool because then you can kind of customize it. But JT also had the light up one too. You know, you could put the light in there when you get the really nasty water. And I have yet to really play with that yet, but definitely want to do that. Actually, no, I take that back. We did run some of those offshore. We were running
a lighted flasher.
Yeah,
from the inside.
I think it's got a little protrusion on the outside.
Gotcha.
I don't know. You know, with 360s, I'm not as familiar because I'm always there again. I've always been a triangle guy, but I think it's a light that, or there's a light that it'll light up.
Gotcha.
So, but I believe that my friend has a couple of them, and I think he ran one offshore when we were going for ocean coho.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but chrome works out there. I mean, I think anything works out there.
Yeah, chrome, everything works out there. You can put down the nastiest looking spinner sometime out there, and you're like, oh, well, it works here.
It's like, if it works here. What was the famous last words? It works in Alaska.
Yeah, it works in Alaska. It'll work here, sure.
Yeah.
Oh man. So outside of the boat, so you're working on those partnerships, you're working with JT on some stuff, and you got your manufacturing, everything else going on, and you're working with Coldwater Strong too. Kenny's a great guy. He's got some great products. Man, yep. He's got some awesome products. And anybody else that you're working with right now?
We're working with these partners to kind of help us like get products into our stores. Like we don't have like this giant workforce behind us or giant production facilities or anything at the moment. So it's like, I'm trying to keep inventory in the shop. Last year we kind of realized, hey, we dropped a bunch of stuff. It was really cool. Hey, it sold out really quick and I need to be able to keep the store stocked. So it was like, hey, we got to narrow down what we want to keep this year. And then we've got to kind of outsource to get these other things done. But it has been super nice and easy that these companies, I don't know, people from this industry have been super easy to work with, and forthcoming and just like transparent. And it's been a little bit of a breath of fresh air. I feel like the industry I come from, everyone thinks their shit doesn't stink. They're better than everybody. And I'm like, I'm so tired of that mentality. It's so refreshing to like talk to some people who are like, they just want to fish too. And that's what I love about business owners in this industry is like, hey, I come from an industry where it's just like, it is very corporate greed, money, these types of people that just kind of gross me out. And then I come to this fishing industry and it's like, these business owners are like blue collar, down to earth, hardworking men. And I respect the fuck out of them, So it's just a little bit different.
That's one of the things that, and don't get me wrong. There's some folks out there that aren't like that, but they never last.
No, there's definitely those. They're in every industry though.
But those guys don't last. That's the thing about in this business is like, you look at the people that are like you said, blue collar, working class, hey, working class fishing, right? You know,
Yeah.
It's all about like going out and just fishing, you know, go out, fish, share what you know with people. You know, you don't, there again, you don't have to tell them like at this spot, at this place, this is where the fish sit, but share what you know and send them on an adventure. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, you know what, this works, I know it works, I'm confident with it, but go out and just explore, go run the river, go do some trolling, go learn about your electronics, and just have fun while you're out there. You know, throw the grill in, turn on the radio. Yeah, it's just have a good time. Yeah,
that was also the reason we did this, man. It's just like I feel like I see a lot of brands and I'm like, you guys don't look like you're having fun, man. I'm like, what part of this job isn't fun? Like, you know, I make fishing shit at home, I go fishing, like this is awesome through and through. You know what I mean? Like, how can you be so grumpy doing something that is so much fun?
Well, that's the whole thing. And there again, I'm not going to name names and list off places, but there's been places in the past around here, and maybe you never really encountered them, but you'd go to a shop, you know, X shop, and the guy's behind the counter, and you're like, hey, you know, I haven't really fished this area much. I got kind of an idea, but you know, what should I be trying to use and work? There's your opportunity to sell stuff. And they're like, well, you're not going to catch anything here. You know, it's like, okay,
Brian, I am that customer. I am the guy that comes in with tattoos and dreadlocks, and they're like, I'm not fucking telling this guy a goddamn thing,
dude.
You know? So, and I get that all the time. But like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
You and I should go. I got a couple of shops around here. You and I should just like pop into.
Yeah.
And just go in there and just kind of see what's going on. You know, I get the same kind of sentiment because I go in there, I'm wearing my old work shirt, I got my scraggly bum beard and everything.
You're the guy he'll tell the secrets to.
Yeah. You know, I don't know about that. You know, if I go in there and I'm like, you know,
yeah,
like,
you make him feel comfortable.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this guy's not going to hurt anything. It's like, only if you knew, you know?
Yeah.
But, no, the thing is yeah, that whole stigma, everything else, it goes on across all different fishing. You know, I mean, John's very dedicated to fly fishing, and I think fly fishing has the biggest stigma. If you look up like arrogance in fishing, the first thing,
oh my god, the first fucking thing you see is fly fishing, dude.
Oh, I love sending funny fly fishing memes to my fly fishing buddies about how they're gay and stuff like that. It makes me so happy.
Oh, man.
Sorry, John, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, dude, it's fine. It's you know, it's gimmicky, you know, and it's like, but I mean, it's fun and all, but it's not all like, I don't know, man. It's people make it out to be way more than it is. Like you take anything, you put fly fishing on it, and look at it like a 300% increase on value, like instantly. Right? And it's like, I mean, literally, people are selling the grass from ferns as fly tying material because it was used in traditional Japanese flies, and people were spending like $8 on grass that is from a fern, and it's like, dude, you could go buy a fern for $8 instead of getting like a little 50-gram pack that you just paid $12 to get shipped from Oconus. It's like, what use your head. Like, you don't have to buy like a $20 spool of, like, you don't have to spend $20 to get 30 feet of fluorocarbon tippet. You know, it's like
same thing as you don't need a full sit count to go duck hunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then the ducks, not only can they not see me, but if I don't show up in full Sitka, dude, they will know I'm poor. So
yeah, they won't cup up.
That was one of the videos of the year,
dude. It's just amazing to me. I mean, through and through. You have, what kind of boat do you have, by the way?
I actually run just like a 17.5-foot Alumacraft. It's a Minnesota bass boat. I've actually gotten it out on the Pacific Ocean a couple times, and I've been like going like, how Alumacraft has not sponsored me yet. out here in the 17-foot bass boat out here on the ocean whacking kings. I don't know what else to do.
Have you sent them the videos of like crossing?
Next time I go, I'll have to get my buddy out there with the drone or something, just because I am always out there in the little boat going, this is ridiculous. Like,
Dude, do you cross the Columbia River bar in that?
No, I have never done the Columbia River bar, but I've done Garibaldi quite a few times.
Yeah, like, you can survive that in a 17 footer. That's I mean,
on a calm day, I'm good out there, but when they pop up in July and it's that ocean coho season, like I try and get out and
rodeo.
Get
out there.
That is some good times, man. And if there's any fish that I want in my freezer, it's July ocean coho and ocean kings. There is not a meat that is more red and beautiful than that. And I'd rather give all of those fall Chinook to the rest of my family and eat all of those July fish.
Yeah, you just sit there. It's like, they're like, oh, we want some salmon. It's like, okay, here you go. And you just go. It's like glowing gold out of your freezer, when you see all those beautiful coho fillets. Oh, man.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's just dark red meat. It's like, you can't beat it.
No.
So this one I'll steal from John. You whack a lot of fish, so you cook a lot of fish.
Yeah.
What's your favorite way to prepare your salmon?
I mean, I pretty much, like, if it's a real fresh salmon, like I'm always taking a little piece off of that and cooking it immediately with just some lemon juice. I do a lot of lemon pepper, maybe a clove or two of garlic chopped up and thrown up in there, and some tinfoil on the Traeger. Not very long. That's my favorite way to just eat real fresh, good fish. Other than that, I would say, like, people throw away their bellies and stuff like that. I think smoked bellies is like one of my favorite parts of the salmon afterwards. Like, it's just so moist and tender and fatty and oily. Like, I absolutely love smoked belly. But yeah, I mean, like, just classic smoked salmon with a little bit of honey, the molasses, I smoke a lot of fish in the fall. I don't like to leave a bunch of fish in my freezer going bad, so before the holidays, I usually smoke up a lot of what I've got laying around and then refreezer pack it into little smoked pieces and stuff like that. So,
man, the salmon belly, you're talking about that, and you're right,
I love that shit.
Yeah, a lot of people throw it away. I mean,
they cut it off, throw it in with their scrap. I'm always like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. I mean, full admission, we've used it for halibut fishing and doing that kind of thing. But man, there's just sometimes when that belly is just so good. It's like,
so good when it's smoked. Yeah.
A Springer belly. Ooh, man, I can't let one scrap of Springer go to waste, period. I mean, just absolutely not. Cheeks, collar meat, everything. It's
also, you're so excited to finally get some meat. Like, my fridge has been empty for, a couple weeks now of salmon meat. Man. So I'm like, all right, now it's time,
Gas up the boat, change the oil in the lower, and head out.
Change the oil last weekend. We're good to go. It just takes one of these days. It's going to be 70 out, and I'm going to be like, all right, kids, get in the truck. Let's go,
Yeah, it's time to go fish.
It just hasn't felt that way yet.
It's been very cold. It's been very cold, and it's raining currently. So it's pulling a PNW right now.
It's steelheader weather out there, man.
Exactly.
I'm not that breed.
I think there was one guy, he was a fly fisherman, and he sees me. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go steelhead fish this weekend. He's like, it was February. He's like, oh, you're one of them. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you're one of the winter steelhead guys. I'm like, well, yeah, of course. He's like, you're like a sadomasochist. I'm like, are you serious, dude?
Oh, that's good.
Dude, I was like, you're out here nymphing for trout in a lake, and you're gonna call me a sadomasochist for going after a winter steelhead? Okay, dude, I've heard it all now.
That's hilarious. No, I respect the hell out of you guys for going out there and doing it, but
we're insane, half insane, half stupid.
Yeah, I know. I feel like when my kids get a little bit older and they're able to stay back or hang out with somebody else and stuff, my wife is super down. She wants to get out and do it. I obviously would love to be on the river steelhead fishing, but the reality is is I can't convince my children to go out and sit in 30-degree weather with jackets on while daddy fishes all weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd be a little selfish on my behalf, because I mean, if you guys see us in the fall, pretty much Saturday and Sunday, you're going to see all three of my children on the boat, my wife on the boat, and it's a family affair out there. So, and they all love it. But I mean, like, as soon as that rain comes back and that weather dips under 75, like, yeah, it's a little bit harder to get them out on the weekend. So
Yeah. They're fair weather anglers. So
they're fair weather. They are fair weather anglers for sure.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I wanted to emphasize about you, Nick, was it is so cool to see you and your family out on the boat, because you don't see a lot of that. Well, I think it's so imperative, because your kids, those memories are going to last forever. John and I talk about this all the time. John had his dad on the podcast, and they talked about the memories they had fishing, and just the brief ones were an hour long, but your kids are going to have days worth of stories. Like, oh yeah, I remember going out with mom and dad, and we were hanging out, and we were at buoy 10, and we hooked up in these fish, and it's just so cool to see that.
Oh man, I don't know if you saw one of our videos last year. I had doubles on with both of the kids on the boat, and the sea lion was eating one of the fish. We got both of the fish netted, and one of my daughters starts crying because she's like, I thought we were going to catch a sea lion, Daddy. And she was disappointed that we had a fish. And I was like, we don't want to catch a sea lion. Like, yeah, but there's so many just funny things. I mean, my wife took a lead cannonball in the head trying to net one of my daughters. There's so many countless, just like whether good or bad or crazy, so many stories to come out of it. So yeah, I love getting them all out in the water and seeing their faces when they're, trying to net a big fish or reel one in. And yeah, it's special.
Man. John looked like he had something to say.
No, dude, it's just, I appreciate, I don't know, dude. I really appreciate people that take their families out in general and just get get people exposed to like all this awesomeness that is nature. It's sick, dude. Like, I don't know. It just really makes me happy because, Brian's talking about having my dad on. That just instantly made me think of some of those memories. And then your kids are going to have that too, man. And like my little dude, he says he hates fishing, but I think that's impossible.
Yeah, my youngest says she hates it too. So
yeah, but
you gotta come. It's 2 on 2 versus 1 right now, and you lost. So.
But then they hook up on one, and it's just the biggest smile. It's just ear to ear, and they're loving it.
Yeah. Even if they don't want to touch it when it gets to them.
Yeah.
They're still, while it's on there, they're like, oh, it's happening.
Yeah. My youngest daughter, she's 17, and up until she was about 14, 15, she wouldn't touch a fish. She liked to fish as long as the fishing was hot. So it either had to be stalker trout or bass. That was it. Yeah. And as she's got older now it's like, I want to catch bigger fish. She's going through that evolution of like, I want to catch a fish and I want to catch a lot. Now I want to catch a bigger one. And so she gets a sturgeon and she's like holding this, 44-inch sturgeon up. She's like, dude, this thing's awesome. Or going out offshore and coho fishing, but she's not like all erratic about it. She's just like, oh yeah, I got a fish. And it's like, I get like the head rush and the adrenaline each time I hook a fish. That's like the tug is drug type thing,
Oh yeah.
And I can only imagine that she would. Yeah, I guess she doesn't show it, but she's got to be like, oh my God, I got a big fish, but not quite. But dude, she went out and grounded out with us for like 7 hours last week, and we didn't touch a steelhead. Like on Sunday, we went.
She have fun though. She said she have fun.
Oh yeah, she had a blast. She's like, she's kicked back. She's got a can of Pringles in the front of the boat, and I'm like going through the rapids, and I was like, oh, I'll kick over to this one and give her a good roll, and she's just like sitting there eating the Pringles, and we're just
nice.
Going, just a light little class too, and she's just up there. She's like, yo, this is pretty cool, and then she gets to uncaps the Pringles. She gets out the jig rod and just, she gets it out there, and she's like floating and mending and doing all this stuff, and just enjoying herself.
Proud dad moments, man.
Oh yeah. even if she's not, if the float's not draining, it's not a big deal. She's still having fun. typically I take her out though, and I'm so busy like trying to unfuck everything that she's like, oh, hey, I got something. And she like reels it up. She's got like an 18-inch trout on a bead or something. I'm like, damn, that's a nice trout. She's like, I thought I was snagged. You know, it's it's fun. So you can't beat those memories with your kids though. It's like going out, just fishing and spending that time. And it's so much fun.
Yeah, I told my wife, we took all three of them to Disney World last year, and I was pleading to take them later in life because I felt like they weren't going to remember because they're so young. And I was like, this is a big deal. We're probably not going to go back to Disney World. Why don't we take them in a couple of years? And now that we did take them, I keep telling my wife, hey, I am going to bury all of their Disney World memories with big fish. So,
dude, yeah, man. Nick, we're coming up on the hour here. But what do you got? You know, you kind of alluded, you got some new stuff in the works, everything else. And where can people come see what you got going on?
So you guys can always come to our website, www.highclasstackleco.com. We're going to have all of our products available on the website. Starting this year, we're going to be putting some things into retail stores, but it's only going to be a portion of our catalog. So if you want more than what's going to be in the store, please come to the website where we're going to have flashers, flasher bumpers, beads, all the terminal tackle for building your own spinners, soft spinners, wire spinners, everything like that. We're going to be having a couple collaborations coming out this spring. One of them being with Ryan from Riverside Guide Service. One of them being with Nick Popov from Peel the Reel. One of them being another collaboration with Craig Mitchell from Mitchell's Guide Service. And those are just going to be like blades that we've done custom for these guides that they've been fishing for years. They trust them. They love the patterns. We've teamed up with them. We're going to produce some of those for those guys. But yeah, I'd expect there's going to be a spring drop, a summer drop, and then a fall drop. And then starting this next fall, going into the winter, we're going to be having winter products available for winter steelhead as well. So along the lines of castable spinners, soft plastics, all that kind of stuff. It's just, like I said, baby steps, baby. And these 3.5s are going to take us to the moon. So everybody come out and buy them.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. I'm excited for the steelhead stuff, but there again, I'm the sadomasochist, so you know.
Yeah, dude. Well, we're working on designing a bunch of custom stuff right now. So we're gonna have custom molds coming out. We're gonna have beads. We're gonna have worms. We're gonna have, you know, some cool new stuff for the industry to actually check out instead of another soft plastic company coming out with the same steelhead worm that all other 12 soft plastic companies currently have as well. So some new shit.
I'm excited because I fish the shit out of worms, man.
Awesome. Love to hear it.
Yeah, that's one of my go-tos. But John, you got anything else?
Dude, Nick, just thanks for coming on, dude. You're super chill. Thanks for explaining to me the difference between castable spinners and inline spinners.
Oh, you're good. Yeah.
And toolies. That's a fun word to say.
Yeah.
And
not as fun to catch. You're a little disappointed when you do catch them.
Yeah.
I've never been out there, so I think I'd be pleased catching anything. But they just, thanks for coming on, man. And you're doing badass stuff, and I'm excited to see where all of it goes.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, John. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you guys having us on the show and kind of helping us get our brand and our message out there. And, you know, let's keep doing badass things. And I hope to talk to you all down the line.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So everybody, make sure you go over to Nick's website. That's www.highclasstackleco.com. Go check out his products. If you're a spinner aficionado, you're going to really appreciate what Nick is doing with his products. If you're right here in the PNW, definitely make sure you get on there, get your stuff early, because there's going to be the big rush. Get it before the coho get into the river this fall. Don't let your stuff just dwindle until August. You know, get on it July, get on it June. If you're offshore fishing, get on it, you know, even sooner. So make sure you get all that stuff together. And if you want more information about Nick, you know, reach out to him on the website. You find him on IG as well. And if you have questions you want to direct to us towards Nick, or maybe you're having a hard time, you can always hit us up over on our website, www.workingclassfishing.com. You can also find us on IG at Working Class Fishing. If you're watching us here on YouTube, you know where to find us here. Drop a comment below, or you can find us on any one of the major listening platforms if you're listening to this in the podcast format. So make sure to reach out to us. Let us know everything else. And remember, folks, until next time, thank you so much for listening, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
Tight lines.